Hi guys, I'm James and welcome to a very cold edition of Mostly Helpful. And in today's video I want to talk to you about these. These are the two best car cleaning products that I've found that nobody seems to buy and nobody ever seems to use. It's so cold today I won't keep you in suspense. Here's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about iron fallout remover and tar remover. And these are Auto Finesse products, and that's just one brand I use. There are other brands as well and I'll show you those too. But they are really effective products, and I want to explain to you in more detail about why I really rate them and why people should use them more. I've got one more day with this white car. That's going to show up how they work really well. So let's get it out of the garage and let's get straight onto it. So here we are then guys, talking about iron fallout remover. Here are my two products that I've got. They're effectively exactly the same thing. CarPro's Iron X, it's usually about £12 online, and Auto Finesse Iron Out, usually about £11.50 online. You used to be able to buy this in Halfords, but they don't stock it anymore, and this may be why people don't use it. But this came from Euro Car Parts. This came from cleanyourcar.co.uk. I'll put links into the description below. What it does is you spray it on a panel of a car and it pulls out all the tiny little metal particulate that's stuck into the paint. And the reason this is a valuable step in your car cleaning process is it means that your paint gets properly clean when you've used this. So rather than put wax over a surface that's got particles embedded into it, you are able to pull them out. I'm going to show you the Auto Finesse right now on this door, and then we will use the CarPro on the other side. So let me show you what you do. All you do is just turn your spray on and just spray your panel. Make sure your car is clean before you do it. This is a new bottle. Now, word of warning, this stuff stinks. There is some chemical in it that is horrendous. They're both the same, they both smell awful. So make sure you do it in a well ventilated area. Right, let's leave that for a couple of minutes and come back and see what's happened in a little while. So that's been about 3 minutes, and let me just bring you in a little bit closer. What you can see is lots of purple specks, loads of them all over. And every one of those is a tiny piece of metal embedded in the paint that this product is now dissolving, and you end up with this sort of purple colour. It's quite hard to see. I've chosen a white car on purpose so that you can see it. It will work on any colour paint, of course, but it's much easier to show on a car with a good contrast. Works well on silver, of course. There we go. Every one of those little streaks is some metal being pulled out of that paint. You might be wondering what it is. Well, every time you brake, you create a little bit of debris coming off your pads and your discs. If you park near a railway station, then every time a train comes through the station, it will kick up a bit. And you end up with it everywhere. I've had a couple of cars where I've had a complete, almost purple car at the end of this process. Now I'm going to leave that for a couple more minutes, and I'm going to go around to the other side and use the CarPro Iron X. And see how that gets on as well. Right, so here's the CarPro Iron X going on the other side of the car. Now I washed this car last weekend, and other than taking it for a service 2 days ago, it's just sat in the garage. Here we go. So let's leave that for a few minutes and see how that fares. Back on the driver's side, this has had a few minutes more, and I think we now need to do the next step, which is simply to rinse it off with some water out of the hose. And there we go, that is the process done. I could dry it and give it another go, which I may do, or then you would just go through your normal drying routine as if you hadn't used it. It's simple rinse off. The only thing to say is in summer it does dry on, and that does make it very hard to get off. So if you're using it when the temperatures are much warmer, then you need to be a bit quicker, which may mean that you have to do a couple of applications. So I've sprayed some of that fallout remover on the back of the car as well, and if we just come in a little bit closer, you can see it again, all this sort of purple speckles everywhere across the back of the car, and again it seems to this stuff seems to get onto every bit of the car. I mean, it particularly shows up on a white car, doesn't it? But this will be on, it's not going to depend on the colour, it's just a bit easier to see on a white car. But yeah, here we are on the other side, and it's a very similar story. There is plenty of contaminant here. I do wonder if the Auto Finesse product is pulling a little bit more out, or maybe just the coverage is better. But again, lots of contaminant to pull out, and certainly worth doing. So I'm going to give that a rinse off, and then we'll start talking about some of the other product, the tar remover. So let's talk about tar removal. And one of the things I mentioned earlier in the video is no one seems to buy these kind of products. What I've seen previously is you've got people who do a standard wash with a single bucket. You've got some people who do the 2-bucket method like I do with the rinse and the wash. They wash their car, they might use a polished product, and then they'll put a wax on. But what they're not doing is they're not really getting that paint really clean so that that wax can adhere to the paint really well. And that's what these products do. The fallout remover that I showed you already pulls all those metallic particles out, and tar remover gets rid of all those finite, really small specks of tar that tend to gather around the wheel arches across the back of the car here. So let's get onto it, show you what we can find. So for the tar removal, I'm going to use the CarPro Tarex on the back of the car here. I can already see some very small specks of tar. I think this one's here, and there's some down here, that kind of thing. So let's get spraying and give it a few minutes and see how we get on. So unlike the fallout remover, this actually smells okay. It smells of oranges, sort of citrusy smell. And it's a different process, this one, just in terms of spray it on and leave it, but then instead of rinsing it off with a hose, you go and wipe it off with a microfiber. So yeah, absolutely, that one I saw earlier is a bit of tar, and you can see already it's beginning to dissolve it. So you end up with these sort of trails of black. There's another one a couple up here. Let's give that a couple of minutes and then come back to it. So that's been a couple of minutes, and as you can see, I've done around the side off camera. There's a few around here, some up here. Bearing in mind this car hasn't done many miles since I'd last done this, as I say, a few thousand. But imagine if you'd bought a car in 50,000 miles that's never had this work done. There's another one, and a good one there. You see a lot of this. So then it is just a case of just wiping it over. The tar, this is a microfiber. My advice is don't use your best microfibers that you'd use for polishing and waxing, because once the tar is in the microfiber, it never comes out, and it effectively condemns the microfiber. So sanity, shame about this, but that's actually the paint missing, not a really bad tar spot. There's that one we saw right at the beginning. There we go. There it is. Let's get rid of that. So then you just wipe it off. It's gone. And one of the benefits of a white car is it really shows things up. So here we are at the back of the car, and again you can really see along here lots of little specks of tar, all of which get kicked up. Some here, where's my finger? There we go, up there. All of which are just sort of sat there on the paint, and we'll removing them improve the kind of application of any wax or sealant. And here we are back at that door where we did the fallout remover initially, just to prove fallout remover will not remove tar. So we've got quite a few marks here, some along here, kind of on here. Again, fallout remover removes fallout, that iron in the paint. Tyre remover obviously removes the tar. Some good old ones down here as well, all getting dealt with. So for the tyre removal on this side of the car, I've decided to use the Auto Finesse, the Obliterate. What we see here is a good example of some of the stuff it's pulling out. It's actually the second application. Forgot to film the first, but there isn't very much else that it's pulling out now. It's done one good go already, and yeah, need to tidy up this a bit. That's just dirt, but that trail there, definite piece of tar here. Something to note about Obliterate though is it doesn't smell of oranges, and it smells much more industrial chemical than the CarPro Tarex product. It seems to do just as good a job, so yeah, happy with that. So there we are guys, 2 great products for cleaning your cars that are super easy to use and give really good result, and will certainly mean that any waxes or sealants you then apply over your paint will have that little bit better chance of adhering for longer. So just a reminder, Auto Finesse, Euro Car Parts, and best place to buy that at the moment, or online at cleanyourcar.co.uk. And the same again for the CarPro products, cleanyourcar.co.uk for those. That's where I buy mine. No affiliation, just a great company that have got some great customer service. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that's helpful, and I look forward to speaking to you in the next one. Thanks and goodbye.